Here we go.
Okay.
Woohoo! Well, we are here, folks. Cheers. Oh, wait.
Cheers.
Now, this is a coffee cup, but it actually has wine in it. So I am so happy to be with you guys tonight after being away. None of us met last week. We were off last week. And then Midge and Wendy, who I'm so happy to have you with me tonight, took over for the 2 weeks before that when I was teaching and traveling and things. So I am happy to be back in Huntington Beach, California. I am in an Airbnb, which is why I'm drinking out of a coffee cup, because it was the only thing there was to drink out of in my room. Today and tomorrow, and then I move into my place Friday. So you guys will all see lots of pictures on Facebook.
Good.
I am so excited. No person has ever been so excited to move into a place in their whole life, I'm pretty sure. So that's great. And so I'm super happy to be here with you guys. So I realized moving to a different format to bring this to Zoom instead of just doing it as a Facebook Live is just kind of a change of routine for everybody. And so that might take a couple weeks for people to get in the groove of it. Marie, thank you for setting the example tonight. You are off camera because she has already disclosed to us she's in her PJs. Frankly, I wouldn't care if you were on camera in your PJs, but folks, I don't want you to not come now that we're on Zoom because you're not camera ready. Cocktails and Coaching is a come as you are kind of event. It only gets streamed, downloaded into the Facebook group. And what I like about this format instead of the Facebook group is that we can converse, right? It's not just me talking and you typing in comments and then me responding sometimes several minutes after you've already said it. And, then it's sometimes hard to figure out what that was you meant, whatever. So I like this format for the engagement. And I would really like to start spending some time, at least on some Cocktails and Coaching, doing live coaching instead of just, me going on and on about a subject and you guys maybe asking some questions or something, but obviously we can't do live coaching through a Facebook Live very well. And so anyway, we're going to try to, get ourselves acclimated to this different way of doing it and see if, people keep coming, because we just had such a nice group all the time. I just don't want to have nobody on Zoom, and, so anyway, we'll see how this goes. So with all that said, thank you for being here. Does anybody have anything they want to get coached on or question? Oh, Wendy, I see those two hands. What would you like to discuss tonight?
Okay, well, first of all, I'd like to discuss when we were talking about pajamas, and then I bought this, talking about a people pleaser. I bought this thing, and I think it's so cute.
Yes.
But is it pajama-like?
No.
Well, no, not unless you want it to be. I mean, it's very pretty, but
yes.
Yeah.
I like it, but okay, so that was my first piece.
All right, I'm glad. Let's start with the easy ones because I'm rusty. So that's great.
Okay, and then second of all, okay, I have this thing where I really want to make more money in my coaching practice. And I also like reading things about like The Secret and Law of Attraction and all this. And it's not about the money, it's about the vibration and all of that. And that's great. And I really want some money in the bank account. That is important to me.
It's not you're speaking to the choir.
It just feels like I keep reinvesting it so that I can market some more, so I can do this some more. And it's all great. And I love my business, and I have wonderful clients, and I have made some really great money, but I would love to see it make its way more into my own pocket more. So yeah, I don't know if there's any coaching working on
listen,
it.
I have, first of all, can I just say a bunch of things about that? And then we'll see if any of the things I'll say resonate. And then that'll help us know what to coach a little bit on. So I love that you bring this up. And I think that that's such a, let's just talk about the manifestation piece for a minute. And so Marie, if you guys may or may not remember this, she's in real estate. Many of our people who typically come to cocktails and coaching are in real estate, because I have a lot of real estate people that follow me because I was in the real estate business for so long.
Well, and I was a real estate agent.
Oh, okay, perfect.
And I still have my license, and I'm still actually a broker, like managing an office. So
Oh,
yes.
okay. So actually, I find that the dynamics are very the same. Wow, very the same. Very much the same, because it's entrepreneurship, right? Like, you can't grow your real estate business any more than you can grow a coaching business without that same kind of entrepreneurial you're asking people to pay for your service, pay you for your
Right.
services. They could pick 100 other people, you know,
Right.
and you're having to justify why you charge what you charge, because even though, now you know this as an agent, I mean, if you are a broker, Wendy, but for those, Midge, I don't know what you know about being in the real estate business, but for anybody listening to the replay, even though there's a consumer perception that real estate agents' fees are, you know, just whatever they are, like they're, you know, you can't negotiate them. That's not actually true. They're all negotiable, because that would be against the Sherman Act for fair trade. If, yeah, if they were fixed. So you guys know, any of you active in the business know that there are also many consumers that know that, and you'll get a lot of challenges, even if they don't know that you can pay, that you can change your fee. And for the sake of conversation tonight, we're going to say that that fee is 6%. It can be a lot of different numbers, but just for the sake of this conversation, let's call it that. And so even if a consumer doesn't realize that they could negotiate it, they'll complain about it and challenge you on it. Like, why should I pay you that much money? Because it's a lot of money, you know, let's face it. So real estate agents have to get really good at explaining why it is you should pay them 10, 20, 50 grand, whatever, to do this transaction for you. Okay. Especially in a seller's market, which most of the US is in, and houses are selling really fast. So I've spent 30 years teaching agents, among other things, how to do that. I found that very helpful in my coaching practice, because one, most people aren't used to asking somebody to pay them to do a service for them. They're used to being an employee, and sure, they're asking their employer to pay them to show up and do a job, but that has a totally different dynamic. So to actually go directly to a consumer and say, hey, Marie Leonard, you pay me, let's see, my 6 session coaching package is $900. You pay me $900 because I'm going to get you the result that, you know, you're looking for based on the questions I've asked you, blah, blah, blah. Most people have never done something like that. And so by default, they'll be like, so I'm afraid she won't pay 900. I'm just going to use you, Marie,
Okay,
as my example.
that's good.
Okay. I'm afraid Marie won't pay that. What if she doesn't think it's worth it? I mean, I know okay, so I'm going to pull a couple things I know. I know she has some struggles with boundaries and people pleasing and maybe some stuff with her adult kids, but what if she doesn't think you know, some breakthroughs on that is worth 900? Oh, but maybe she'd think it was worth 600. Well, I don't know about 600, maybe 3. And now I'm down to 6 sessions for $150 because I'm so afraid she won't pay for it or whatever. It's not even necessarily, a lot of the coaches I talk to, it's not even that they don't think they can get the results. They know they can get the results for the client. I mean, of course, the client has to do their part of the work. So but it's not a lack of confidence in their ability to coach. It's that fear of asking for that money. And so there's a couple layers of that. beyond of course you have to have the confidence that you could get the results for the client. I mean, if Marie came to me with 6 sessions, Marie's so into this. I mean, you guys know, because she shows up here a lot, and she's a gonna do the work kind of woman. So I have no question in my own mind that if Marie were to choose coaching and show up, we'd get her way over $900 in value. Okay. So now I have to have that level of confidence, or it's all going to come off wonky and weird anyway, energetically. And while the client may not get that that's what's going on, somewhere they're just going to feel like, oh, I'm not so sure, kind of a feeling, and probably never make a decision. So, but then the other thing is the other pieces are what you were talking about, Wendy, which is like being in that vibration. So it's manifesting money, and manifesting money has a lot more to do with vibration, but then one could say, but what the hell does she mean by vibration? So vibration to me is really about a feeling state. We can go back to what I've talked about before, and we're in the middle of it kind of right now in the podcast, the Solve It method that I have with the thinking about your thoughts, your desires and your thoughts and your feelings and your actions. So I know we did desires and thoughts. I think this Sunday might be action in the podcast. And then I'm going to bundle those together in one download when they finish publishing. But anyway, the reason why I got so passionate about using that method, those 4 kind of parts of a process when I coach people, is because to me, when people talk about you got to be in the vibration of it, that's the feeling state. That's when I feel like I'm abundant, whether I really have money in the bank or not. Okay. Now, I don't like not having money in the bank, but there's a difference between telling yourself, like trying to have the thought that I'm abundant, or the affirmation, I'm abundant, I'm wealthy, I'm, whatever, I'm going to get the next client, like whatever the words are. They just kind of go in one ear and out the other, unless we can pair it with the feeling state, which usually happens because we can go back to some other period in our life where we felt abundant, where we just, that feeling of things coming together and there being a certain amount of ease in it, not a lack of work, it's all work, but ease in it, right? And so I can go back and I can remember that. And so then I can kind of conjure up and create for myself that feeling state, which is what scientifically brings up the energetic signature that we're vibrating out. So that is way easier said than done. And that's that's one of those simple, not easy things. For me, it's been a very constant, because you guys probably know, and I'll just continue to be more and more frank about this. But, over the last 3 years, I've gone broke, filed bankruptcy, almost homeless, $50 in the bank. I mean, I've pretty much, and most of the rest of my life, I've made really good money. So it's not like that was a normal thing for me or anything. So so I knew what it felt like to make money, and to just not worry about any of it. All needs met. All my needs are met, which doesn't just mean I have food and groceries. It means I have the new purple iMac coming.
Wow.
For me to do my business on, so I have the tools I need. I have clothes that I like. It's not just, bare necessities when I say all needs met. And so I knew what that felt like. So I had to reconjure that up for myself and do it like sometimes daily. I mean, I wasn't super rigid about it, but almost every day I would listen to something or kind of meditate or journal to get myself to where I felt that way, even though I couldn't have gone and ordered that iMac. Okay. And so I wonder, because the problem is that a lot of times we just tell ourselves what we want, but we don't really feel that. We don't feel it. And so in a way, it's like we're telling somewhere between our mind and our heart, there's a big bullshit level, where it's just not, it's not sinking in like it's true. So
Doubters are us.
yeah. So with all that being said, does any of that resonate with you, Wendy, or you think maybe there's a piece of it there? Or do you feel like it makes you think, no, my piece is over here with the
it
problem?
does come up. I think it's probably multifaceted, and
Yeah,
that's
for
we
sure.
can't always attack all sides of something.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that. I remember actually when I got the broker job that I currently have, they had called me already 3 times and asked me to come and work for them. And I had quit real estate to go into coaching. And so, but I also was putting out like, I want to have regular income, because it felt like it was feast or famine with my coaching as I was starting out. So I had gone on a girls' vacation with some gal pals. It was celebrating my friend's 50th birthday. And we were shopping. And while we were shopping at this one store, which is my favorite, I love Aritzia. I don't know if I love Aritzia. It's like my favorite. So I'm in Aritzia and I'm picking out some clothes, and I'm like, I probably shouldn't be spending money on this right now. I should keep that money in the bank account because, I don't know when my next dollar is going to be made. And I was like, screw it. I have been in real estate and had, $250,000 years. I was a top producer. Like, why am I in this muck? Yes. And so I went and I put my credit card down, and I was like, energetically, I was like, I am going to live at the same vibe that I used to live at.
Yes.
And when I did that, while she was taking my payment, my phone rang again. And if it wasn't the same gentleman, my boss now, asking me for the 4th time after I'd said no, if I would come and work for them.
Yes.
So I took that as a sign.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Because that's the vibration. I mean, Maria, I'm sure can you relate to this? Like how it feel when you're up? Yeah. Is it hard for you or easy?
Well, after doing this 25 years,
yeah,
and you helped me so much in the beginning, but I just roll with it now. But see, I have a different type of service. I have a service with a long history of asking for 6% and explaining why my portion of that is necessary for them to be successful. But in coaching, you have a totally different service. I mean, I'm just studying what you girls do. It's so interesting. Yeah. But I can see why you have to work to be confident and to know you're worth it. Because your service and your, I guess, product is so different than mine.
Right.
It's a little less tangible for sure.
Right. It's not tangible.
Yeah. But I think what you're saying there, Wendy, is so important because, so now again, because there's always lots of sides to things, but of course, we don't want to spend in a way where we get way too ahead of ourselves and end up inadvertently creating stress. Okay. Because then that just takes you away from that vibration of all needs met. But that being said, we all have our own sort of debt and risk tolerances. So that doesn't necessarily mean unless you can pay that off in 30 days, you're not going to buy those clothes, whatever. I think I've really come, and I'm not going to say I've nailed this by any stretch, but it's still a gut thing. Like, we often talk about that our wisdom, is really in our heart, in our gut, and not in our heads. Like when we're in should I do this or do that kind of a decision, the last place I trust anymore are the thoughts that are going on in my mind that are running out the pros and cons and all that. I want to settle that down and just go to my heart and go to my
Yes.
gut and ask myself if this really feels like it's in my highest good.
Mhm.
And then sometimes I will I'll do that, and then I'll put a little caveat out like, okay, so Divine, I'm going to go do this, buy the clothes. So I just signed up for a program that's pretty expensive. And so, and I've signed up for so many programs, very expensive or not expensive, to help me build my business, that I'm super jaded in that department. Okay. That's one of the reasons I had to file bankruptcy, was because one I did was so expensive and I got no results, and it just
Oh.
it sunk me financially. And I
Mm.
mean, and other things. But anyway, I'm just saying, I'm a little jaded in that. But one of my, and so I thought about this with you too, Wendy, because I don't know. I know for me, in years past, when I was signing up for those programs, I was also projecting my power onto those people and their programs, that somehow, and the way I articulate this is not ideal, but I don't know how to, if the words don't serve us very well in this kind of nuance, but I really projected my power that they would have some thing, and that by being in their program, that magic, I'll just call it, would like somehow get on me. It's almost like osmosis, right? Like if you hang out with wealthy people, you'll be wealthy, kind of thing. And it's not that I was always willing to do my work. I'm a hard worker. I think all four of us here tonight live, I mean, I know we're very hard workers. So I was doing my part, but it's that projection of power, just like happens to us romantically, where, this guy shows up and I think we're straight. I don't know. Who cares what sex he is? I don't care if you're straight or whatever, but I am. So a guy shows up and I'm like, oh, he's so wonderful. And now I'm showing up so much better in this relationship, and I'm feeling so much more confident, and da 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 da. And it's because he's whatever. And then you kind of like, and I've coached a million women, not as many men, but some men. We like, without saying so, without being super conscious, we think we're in this new place because of them and how they are,
Right.
And it's not. It's because of us and how. And so I did that same kind of thing with these programs, and so when they didn't work, I mean, part of why they didn't work was just my own lesson. Okay. It was my own soul's lesson on projection of power, because that's what my whole life has been about, is bringing my power back to myself. But there can be the same thing in the buying clothes, right? So, because I've done the same thing. Like back in February, I bought some Lily Pulitzer, a couple of outfits. I love her stuff. And, it's, I don't know, kind of expensive. Most of it's $100 to $200, So whatever, I had 4 or 5 things. So I had $500 or $600, whatever. And I mean, I hadn't spent, because of what's happened, I haven't spent $500 or $600 on clothes in 4 years, probably, So I'm both simultaneously thrilled because I love this stuff and freaked out. And I have to put it on a credit card. I don't have the cash. And I don't know exactly when I'll be able to pay. I didn't know when the money would come in to pay that. And so I was just like, oh my gosh, am I doing it again? Am I just getting caught up in the short-term thrill and kind of boost to your confidence that something, I mean, for me, clothes does it. For you guys, it could be something different, but that thing that just feels like a boost to your confidence, but then it's short-lived because it wasn't really coming from your own power. Yeah, it was that those clothes, and again, it sounds silly to say this, but those clothes are going to make me feel better. Or is it that I feel better, and so now those clothes sort of suit, get it, suit, how I'm feeling. They're matching my vibration, not I'm using them to try to bring up my vibration. That's a good way to say it. Same way with programs, same way with clients. I can't get on the phone with a client and hope they're going to be positive and so match my abundant vibration and not question the fee I charge. Like that, when I say that way, it's a little more obvious. But we do that all the time with things and people in our lives. We want to use it, or because that's just the other side of when my kids leave home, when I make this much money, when the pandemic's over, when the fill in the blank, then I'll, be happy. Then I'll have the time to do this. Then I'll have fill in the blank. And all that's bullshit. Because then we're giving those things our power. And until they do something, we're not going to do what we want to do. And that's where that whole power leak starts happening.
Yeah.
Does that resonate?
It does. Like for me, money equals freedom. And freedom to do what I want, when I want, how I want, with whom I want. And it also is a validation thing though, too. It validates that what I'm doing is valuable to other people and that it, that they find value in it as well. So,
yeah, I think it's about being unapologetic. And Marie, you didn't use those words, so I'm going to put them in your mouth. I think that's part of what you've learned and why you're so good at it is you are unapologetic about what you charge and the value of it. Which unapologetic to me is not arrogance. It's just not, it's unapologetic. It's just,
it's honest.
It's honest.
It's honest.
It's honest. Yeah.
So in coaching, I guess I break it down. I break that fee down to who gets what and where it goes and what it costs me for all the, CMLS and all the services and all. And then there's about, I always say, and so I get to take about 20% of that home. And it's the same with you as a coach. You invest so much into your service and you just have to believe you are worth it. Your service is worth every penny. And this is what it costs for me. So.
Yeah. And I think part of that on our side of it is that we can turn it as a coach. I mean, this also works in real estate, but it's a little different there, is that we can say, like, if we talk about the result that client wants and then ask them, like, what, like money wise, like really, what would that be worth to you?
Good question.
If you had that result, because like if it's a parent who's helping their kids out financially, it may not even be a direct dollar to dollar thing. Let's just say whatever, I start to feel like I have power in my marriage. What's that worth to me? I'm telling you, that's worth thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, because you can bet I'm spending thousands and thousands hiding from it, in overspending, in just doing
over drinking,
over drinking, overeating, over anything,
or divorce.
Walking away from my own dreams, whatever it is. I mean, everything we do and don't do has such a cost. I don't typically do that with people, but that just is a style. I mean, that's just, but it's super true. And I know it in my own head, which again allows me to show up even unconsciously in a super congruent way with who I'm talking to, what their problem is, and what, my fees are to help them with that.
This is really good. It just gives me more to think about and some more tools to practice too. So
yeah, but I think I think so much of it goes to that feeling state, learning how to create it for yourself, and then learning how to make decisions out of that place, because that place won't let us foolishly spend money that, we don't have or something like that. I mean,
Right.
and we don't even have to talk about money. This comes up with people with eating issues, people they feel like they need to lose weight. I don't mean like somebody who's anorexic or really has a, diagnosable thing, but just somebody who thinks they need to lose 20, 30, 50, whatever pounds. And if there's ever a choice for a piece of cake, they feel like they have to say no, because how can they say yes? Because they want to lose this weight and that's not going to help them lose the weight, and and it gets very transactional. And we can be this way in our lives, and our Western culture really sort of supports, whether it says it overtly or not, transactional lifestyles where we're transactional in relationships. If I do this, then you do that. Again, even if we're not really consciously talking about that, that's what it is. And we do it with our bodies. We do it with our money. So if I save this much, I'll have that much, in 5 years because I'm going to invest or whatever. And then boom, we have a stock market crash. And guess what? You don't have any of that anymore. Whatever. Like, life is really not a transaction. And so we can't look at going back, getting out of money again to go back to the body and say, well, if I go to the gym 4 days a week, then I should lose 20 pounds in the next, 2 months. Let's just say 2 months. That's not aggressive. But maybe that's not how my body is going to work. And so to be able to say, you know what, no, I think this piece of cake is fine, or half of a piece, or one bite, or whatever the thing is. Like, I just don't think the divine intends for us to live without pleasure, And so to be able to say yes when that feels in alignment with our gut, even though one could argue in a moment, that's maybe not congruent with some other stuff we're saying, right? It's that because some of that opens us, if we're totally transactional in life, it's almost like, okay, so it's the whole, mystic concept or ancient wisdom concept that as above, so below, as within, so without. And so if I'm being super transactional, then what's outside of me is bound to get transactional with me too. And transactional is not all that fun. There's not a lot of grace in it. But when we get out of that and we're giving and receiving from a place of love and gratitude and generosity, sometimes it's more my turn than others or less my turn than others, but I'm not tallying it up and, whatever. I don't know. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah.
I think that I was just going to say, I think that vibration that you were talking about and the cake, I think that the vibration that we hold is either going to put more weight on us. The higher our vibration is, we get lifted up. So if I'm going to eat that cake and I really want it, I have to love eating that piece of cake, because my vibration will accept that as joy. And move me forward. Not that I'm going to eat the whole cake.
Right.
But if I enjoy that piece of cake, if I choose not to pull all that guilt and shame onto me, that adds the weight, because then the stress comes in.
Yes.
So that balance of knowing where my vibration is and how I feel about the choices I'm making. The other thing I wanted to mention too is the tug and pull in our heart about service versus compensation. And, in my rural community, I can go 30 miles down the road to Greensboro or an hour down the road to Charlotte or Raleigh, and people are making 3 times more than I am, and people are paying it. You know, the people that I'm wanting to serve
Mhm.
don't make that much money, and I know it.
Mhm.
And, you know, so then I get this disconnect from, okay, can I feel good about charging this amount of money so that I can then feel free? Because I
Mhm.
like that word, Wendy. Yes, the money makes
Yes.
me feel free. But I won't feel free if I feel like people are going into debt to get a service, even though it may help them. You know,
Mhm.
I would feel guilty about that. So I have that tug and pull when I think about setting my fee schedule is, you know, who am I serving? And yes, people can come up with money.
Mhm.
I just don't always know what happens to them once they pay it. You know what I'm saying?
Right. But so there I would say what happens to them once they pay it is none of your business. I mean, that's really lovingly. I say that lovingly. That would sound a
I
little
know
harsh
you
maybe.
do.
But it's true because I can say, I mean, I've gone into debt, lots
Oh
of
yeah.
debt, many
Oh
times in
yeah.
my life for, you know, coaching or therapy or whatever. And of all the things I might regret I've done or spent money on, though that's never in the equation. So
Right.
I mean, I also think, I mean, yeah, I think that if you want to serve a community, if that classically we'll just say, or you know, statistically, is a lower income community, then there could be some reality to some limits on what you can earn there.
Yeah.
I mean, with the internet, I'm not sure even that's true, but whatever. Even if
Yeah.
that's true, like one of the things I like to do is I like to have, and I would like to do way more of this in the future. I just haven't mobilized myself to create a system for it, which
Mhm.
is to collect money from people who have money for scholarships or, you know, when I have programs or even, you know, same idea, scholarships for even people who want one-on-one, so that they're paying an amount they can afford.
Mhm.
And I'm still getting, you know, what I feel like I, you know, I hate to use the word deserve, but whatever, is
You
a match,
can.
the match, it's the match of energy for what I'm giving. I mean, that's
Yes.
really what it is. It's not about deserving, it's a match of energy for what you're giving.
Yeah.
So, and that's what Marie obviously has gotten so good at is matching, you know, she's so clear. Yeah, go ahead, honey. I'm so happy you were here. I hope this was
Thank
helpful.
you so much. I'm so sorry I have to jump off early.
Yeah, no, I gotta go too. It's almost 6 o'clock. Or 9 o'clock for those of you.
9 o'clock. Almost
9 o'clock
9.
for me.
9
Yes.
o'clock.
I'd be going to sleep on myself by now. Bye, honey. But it is that match of energy. So that way you could get what feels like a match for you while still offering people who truly, because I mean, I know
Yeah.
it. I mean, again, when you know, when you have $50 in the bank, you don't have any money to help buy to pay for a coach,
Yep.
you know,
That's
even though
right.
I needed it. So
Yep.
I had people that either coaches I worked with who had scholarship type things, or they agreed to barter with me or whatever, you know, in some way, so that
Mhm.
I could get the help that I needed, even though I absolutely had no money, you know, no money, no
Yeah.
resources. So I do like, um, you know, I don't, my goal isn't to be so successful and charge such a fee that a bunch of people could never afford to work with me. That's not, you
Yeah.
know, where
Yeah.
I'm headed either. So I think that it's sort of, I started with that whole idea that Tom's Shoes does, with where you buy one, he gives one.
Yeah.
And so even though I've never kept track of it, that's just sort of energetically where I've always wanted to be, where there's a certain amount of where I'm just giving my services pro bono. I have a couple clients right now that I'm doing that with. Or, you know, I've created scholarships and programs I'm doing, or something that is also my way of giving back. But I also know from some other things I've done with a couple other people that if you start asking for it, there are people who are very
Mhm.
happy to donate money into a
True.
scholarship fund to help
Nice.
other client, you know, people they don't even know, you know, to help them get what they need.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
But in the end, it's about having that feeling tone that keeps you in that state of unapologetic asking.
Yeah.
I think women have a harder time asking for their paycheck, their support, their, you're worth it. And
Yes.
Yeah.
you have to know, I am worth this amount and this
Yeah.
is my fee. And
Yeah.
you're going to like it when we get to the end.
Yes,
And stop
exactly.
talking.
And then, yeah, and then just stop talking. Stop talking is so powerful. That is so good, Maria. I'm so glad you used that word because the worthiness, the worth it piece, that worthiness piece is so big. And last weekend I had my first retreat, which was weekend before last, which was so gorgeous with these 9 women. And
Good.
the topic of worthiness came up there. And the gal that brought it up, I can't even remember the story or the context right now. It doesn't matter. But as soon as it came out of her mouth, she's like, because it was kind of like, I don't feel worthy of this or that. Maybe it was in a relationship, but then she kind of stopped herself and it was like, but I know I'm worthy of that.
Yes.
And I think that there's a piece where worthiness, and I think this happens in a lot of different areas of our life, like consciously, we know that, but in our heart, we don't, or in our gut, it hasn't traveled that far.
Right.
And it's too much in our head. And so when we feel something that feels like I'm not worthy, then the mind comes in and says, oh, silliness, you are worthy, you are worthy. And like those affirmations start and you're like, oh no, I'm worthy. So that's not it. And you move away from it and you keep trying to compensate in other ways. But really it's that there's a wounded part, usually it's from our childhood, but sometimes it's later than that, that really just doesn't feel worthy, that is still residing somewhere in our body. And we have to find that and heal that before it matters what our mind is saying.
Yep.
I think we equate worthy with money.
Oh,
If we're business women, then we think success means money. Well, it doesn't always mean money. It means respect of your peers, whatever. Whatever.
Yes. Totally. You're totally right again, Marie, because I think one of the things that was the most liberating for me about these last 3 years is I had to disconnect from that. Because if I had allowed my money, or even we'll say my business success, like the number of clients I had, like ways you would measure that.
Right.
I would have been in the fetal position in the corner of a room,
Right.
And so, but that's where I really figured out how deeply that ran in me.
Right.
That was, how I was validating myself. And so to get to where I could say, not say at all, feel, I'm really good at what I do. I'm bringing value to the world. This is my mission. And I have a handful of clients and I'm broke as a stone. Could all exist in the same place, and it was okay because it wasn't that the broke part and the number of clients I had didn't equal my worthiness or my success level or any other number of ways we could word how we attack. And because again, that's power. If I give that my power, then what if I say success is when I have 20 one-on-one clients at any given time. Oh my gosh, well, what if I don't? What if I drop to 19? What if I drop to 12? Oh, now I'm not a success. And so I've given that number my power, or I have to, as long as I make this much money, then no matter how the clients come in, but I got to be at 200 grand or whatever my number is, then I've given that money the power to define me. And so all of it keeps coming back to who's got your power.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the key is, how do I get my power?
Yes. And so
And
how
keep
do you
it.
take it back from the people and the situations that we've given it to, and we
That
all
we've
do
given
this,
it to.
yeah, then how do I start to take that back? And that has been my PhD for the last 3 years. And I'm going to claim that I earned that PhD.
There you go.
Good. Very good.
Life of hard knocks.
But it really is the most powerful thing I've ever done. Yeah. I mean, it is. Yeah.
The most rewarding to you.
Yes.
And then it helps you in your business to be authentic, an authentic coach of others.
Yes. And it makes me believe my own, whatever hype, that if for anybody who's struggling with power,
yes,
I know, I mean, again, that person has to show up. I don't think I can coach everybody. So, but when I do a discovery call, I can tell if that person's one of my kind of people that I can coach. But so we'll take that. I don't think I can coach everybody who has a power problem, but of the people who are kind of fall into that my people category, I know we'll figure it out. I know we'll get results because I know the strategies and things I did to get myself, into my own power. And we just keep trying them until we find the ones that really take you there,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good discussion.
Yeah. Well, thank you, ladies. Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Yeah. Thank you.
Welcome.
We will keep, we'll keep with Zoom for a while. I don't want to make too many changes. People get really lost, but hopefully they'll be inspired and be willing to come on and just let their video be off. Cause that you're so right. Like, nobody needs to be camera ready. Don't put your video on if you don't want to, or put it on and be, crazy.
Oh,
Here I am.
There we go.
In my pajamas. My hair's right out of the shower.
That's right.
You.
I love it.
That is
I
your
love
power. That's your
it's
power.
perfect. So it really kind of reminds me. So this morning, on my regular Facebook, I didn't put it in our group. I'm going here for my first morning of coffee in Huntington Beach, which I now call home. Did you see that?
I did.
And I love this coffee shop called Phil's, and they started in San Francisco, and they're up and down the California coast, and now they're starting to branch out into a couple other states. Anyway, and I'm a coffee snob. I'm crazy about coffee. Okay. I don't drink anyway. So I found Phil's about 5 years or so ago in San Francisco when Eric and his wife Lee were living there. And ever since, I fell in love with their coffee. Ever since then, like, this coffee is $18 a pound.
Oh, wow.
And I've shipped it to Pennsylvania for another $8 or whatever the shipping is for like 5 years. And so here's the funny thing. Even when I had $50 in the bank, I had Phil's coffee in my car. It was just like one of those things. I'll eat peanut butter all week, but I'm keeping this coffee, right? Okay.
Good.
So anyway, I'm in there this morning and the staff is super awesome, super friendly. And I'm waiting for my drink. And so this guy, they weren't that busy. This guy comes over and talks to me. He's like, what you doing? How'd you? And I'm like, oh, I'm great. I'm so happy. I just moved here. I love your coffee. I'm blah blahing about how much I love their coffee. And he's like, oh, I have such a treat for you. And he takes me over and introduces me to this man who is the CEO of Phil.
All right.
Just happened to be
there he is.
Yeah, and he's got to live in San Francisco because that's where the company started. But he was obviously visiting Huntington Beach. And so I'm like, I have goosebumps. I'm so excited. I mean, so crazy, but that's how I felt. And I'm like, let's do a selfie. And then I'm like, Jesus Christ, I got no makeup on, no lipstick. I squirted some water on my hair before I ran out the door. And I'm like, okay, this is how you know you've just met your version of the coffee Beyonce, because I didn't even care. I have no makeup on. I'm like, take a selfie with me.
Your smile said everything. Funny. Your smile was pure radiated joy.
It was awesome. A joyful experience. So I think it's a good omen, and I'm off to a wonderful start here in Huntington Beach.
Yay.
Good for you. Good for you. Well, I've enjoyed tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Love you guys. See you next week.
You too.
Okay,
all right.
bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.